Welcome to one of our virtual project day sessions. I am going to be teaching you guys today how to reverse tie-dye. You can see I have some examples over here of some shirts that I've made for my kids. It's really easy to do if you don't want to get all messy and with colored dye, and it uses stuff that you have at home, which is one of the great things about it. So let's get started. Some of the perks of doing this form of tie-dye is, like I mentioned, it uses everyday household items like bleach and water and a shirt that you probably already have. It's also much quicker than regular tie-dye. You don't have to wait for the dye to set because bleach starts working right away. But bleach can be very tricky to deal with. So wear clothes that you don't mind if you might get a little bleach splatter on, because if you do, they will get stained and you'll have some bleach spots on, because bleach removes color in things. That's why it's a great stain remover. Also, bleach is a chemical. So if you can, do this project in a well-ventilated area. It's really great if you do it outside. I know that you guys are, so that's a great place to do this, because then if you get it on something, it's not as big of a deal, and it's definitely well ventilated outdoors. And be careful not to get bleach onto your into an open cut or in your eyes, because that would be very bad. If you're able to, use some rubber gloves. That's another great way to avoid some of that. So I'm going to stand up so we can get started with this project. Another great thing is it's a little more versatile than typical tie-dye, because there aren't set designs that you can do. You can really play around with it. You can use a spray bottle to get a different kind of effect. You can tape your shirt to do resist dye and things like that. So it's even more versatile. Here are the supplies that you need. And hopefully you have all these things around. If not, get them gathered up right now. A dark colored shirt, black, navy, and brown or maroon. Darker colors work best. Anything that has a little color. If it's a light color, it might not show as vividly. Bleach. We'll need approximately 2 cups today for this. But if you're doing more than that, you might need a little more. Or if you want the dye effect to be more vivid, then you could always use a little more as well. Rubber bands. I'm actually using hair ties today because it's what I had around. You can also use string or yarn, anything to make the design and to section off the fabric. Scissors. This is for cutting off the rubber bands later. I'm probably not going to use that, because then maybe I can use these later. A rinsing station. I'm going to use this here. It's just got water in it. And then a pouring device for the bleach. I'm just using this measuring cup. And then if you wash it off really good afterwards, maybe a couple times, you can still reuse it for how you would use that measuring cup in the first place. Some optional supplies. Again, this is depending on your comfort level with this. Tongs, if you really don't want to handle the shirt yourself. Because sometimes people are very sensitive to bleach and it can maybe irritate your hands and things like that. I don't have very sensitive skin, so I'm just going to use my hands today. A spray bottle, again, depending on the design that you want to do. And then you can also put different shapes on the shirt. If you, for example, lay it out and then put on like a star cutout or stencil or letters and spray around that, then that will remain on the shirt. So whatever you lay on here, behind it will remain dark, and then all around it will be light. So that's an option. And then detergent and a dryer. Those are for the last steps to have your shirt ready to wear. All right. Are you guys ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Step 1, we've already taken care of all your supplies already. So think about what shirt you're using. I have a couple options here. I have a navy blue, a gray, and a black. What color do you guys think that the bleach will turn your shirt? Has anyone ever accidentally gotten some bleach on them and seen what happens?
White.
If you leave it on long enough, possibly. So black will actually make it, what's left, turn kind of orangey. You leave the bleach on long enough, yes, it will turn white. Anything will turn white eventually once all of the color is removed. That's what bleach does. It removes color. Navy, the bleached parts will look kind of pinkish. And then gray, it'll kind of look brown or pinkish as well. So when it removes color, it can have a different effect depending on what you're starting out with. All right, so the next step is to section off your shirt and create your design with the ties that you're using, or rubber bands. If you've ever tie-dyed before, it's very similar. So what I'm gonna show you first is design that a lot of people spiral. I'm gonna use my gray shirt for that one. And so with the spiral, you lay it out flat, you pinch the fabric. So you can, yeah, like I said, you can pinch in the middle and then twist. Another way to do the spiral is, again, lay it flat. Wherever you're starting with is going to be the center of your spiral. So if I want my spiral to start kind of in the bottom corner, I'm going to try that, see how that works. Then another thing you can do is take a fork, put it down where you want it to start, and then start spinning the fork. And that's a really easy way to start a spiral. I know I didn't list fork in the supplies, but that really depends on, again, what design you're going to go with. And then once you have your spiral here, you just take your rubber band and you tie it around the outside. And then you can also secure it with other rubber bands, kind of like a pie, like a pizza pie, in like 8s or quarters to really make it secure and hold the design. All right. Other design ideas I just wanted to show you guys is there's lots of options, and you can see right there on the pictures, that's the spiral. So I have mine right here, if you can see it. I know sharing screen viewing might be a little difficult, but you can section it off like a pizza, kind of like at the bottom picture there, if you're doing a spiral. Some other easy designs, if you have rocks or marbles at home, you might have seen people like stick something in, lay a marble on, and then like section it off with a rubber band so that the rock or marble is staying in there. That's another kind of like a bubble technique. So I'm actually going to do that with this black shirt. I'm just going to do a lot of random circles and section it off in kind of random areas to give it kind of a bubble effect. The tighter you tie your rubber bands, the less bleach is going to get in there. So it'll leave a really dark kind of circle then. So with the bubble technique, you can really just kind of put them wherever you want. Scrunch it up is another method, and that's literally just crumpling it in a ball and then banding it off. Bullseye, you can see this one that I did is actually a bullseye. So that is where you start in the middle and do rubber bands all down the remainder of the shirt. The bubble technique that I'm kind of doing on this black one turns out kind of like this, kind of random pattern. And then this one, I think this shirt started out like a forest green or like a army green. And this one I did stripes. So to do stripes, I'll show you how to do that one in a second. But this one, I'm just going to do a couple more circles and then scrunch up the rest. Kind of a combination of techniques too. Now, note, everywhere that it is exposed is where the bleach is going to touch, and that's where the color is going to be removed. So keep that in mind if you're really shooting for a specific design. I always say my favorite part about tie-dyeing though is that it's always a surprise what it turns out like. You never quite know what you're gonna get. So I'm gonna just crumple this up to a couple. And then if you're really interested in the stripe method, that's pretty easy too, starting out with just a navy blue tank top here. And for that, that's going to be an accordion fold. So kind of like if you've ever made like a paper fan. So for that, you just go fold back and forth in a line all down the shirt, the whole length or width. If you do length or width, that'll vary the direction of your stripes. So this way I'm doing now, going down the length of the shirt. This is hopefully going to give me some vertical stripes. If you go the other way, that should provide you with horizontal stripes, because it's all about how this is sectioned off. And you'll see that once I take my rubber bands and section this off, that's what creates your stripes. Now this part, sectioning it off, takes the longest. So it requires a little patience to get the design and the effect you're going for. How are you guys coming with your designs? Close to being done?
I think we're done.
All right, awesome. Just gonna finish this one. And you don't just have to tie-dye shirts either. You can tie-dye lots of things or bleach dye lots of things. When I was preparing for this, I saw some people that were bleach dyeing a hat or sweatshirts. Basically anything you have laying around that you want to give new life. So you can give it a new design and look. All right. So some fun facts about bleach. So bleach is actually the chemical solution of sodium hypochlorite. So like chlorine and sodium. And when you buy it in the store like this, it is diluted already with water. It's not pure concentrated bleach. That could be really harmful for us. But it's like you're buying salt water that's changed a little bit chemical reaction by electricity. So kind of cool. There's some other information there about stains and how they kind of happen and how they are set and ruin your clothes. When something stains your clothes, that's called a chromophore. So chroma is another word. It's like Latin for color. So that's where we get the term color. So like I said earlier, if you put the bleach on longer and it's exposed to the bleach longer, then the more color that will be removed. And that's all chemical reactions. So not only is this a fun arts and crafts project, but there's also some science behind it too. So next is to prepare a rinsing station. Hopefully you've already done this. The exact amount of water that you have in your bucket doesn't really matter, but you should have a decent bleach to water ratio. So at least 9 cups or so. I'll tell you, I did not measure the water that I put in here, but I definitely got enough. There's quite a bit of water in here. So get that ready in your rinsing station if you haven't done so already. And then you want to prepare your shirt for the bleach. So stick your shirts in the water, soak them a little bit, and then you want to get your bleach ready. So like I said, we're going to need about 2 cups. So I've already poured 2 cups of bleach in my measuring cup. If you want to spray, then I would add that to your spray bottle if you have one. It can be fairly concentrated because then what you spray on your shirt will go directly on and get to work. I'm not going to use the spray bottle though today. So next, here's where the magic happens. Add your bleach. Be careful. You don't want to get this on your clothes. If you can, I'm going to use a little more just because I am doing a couple shirts. Put it directly onto the rubber banded areas and let it soak for about 15 seconds or so. And then I'm going to pour a little more on some of the rubber banded areas I have in here. And then make sure it gets both sides too. So I am going to flip them. The 10 to 15 seconds, that goes pretty fast though. So I'm already probably past that, but the longer you leave it on, the more of an effect you will get. All right. If you have a towel or something, you can go ahead and get some of the bleach directly off of your hands. And then let it saturate, soak it in, move it around a little bit. If you can, in your bleach water mixture. And then go ahead and take them out. And now we're gonna take off our ties. So you can see there, if you're using rubber bands, you can use scissors to remove them. If you want to get a little more of the bleached effect, you can leave it in there a little longer. I do see my black shirt changing color a little bit. You can also repeat the process if need be. So I'm gonna squeeze out the excess water here, put it on the table and just take a little peek. Now, the bleach is still on there doing its work because we haven't rinsed it yet. So you could still see a little more color, but I'm gonna put it back in a little bit because I want it to really get a drastic change in color. I'm actually gonna pour a little more on too. How are your guys' coming?
Pretty good. There's still the bucket.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna let mine soak a little more too, so they really take in that bleach. I know when I made the ones behind me that are examples, I did have to do it a couple times so that the bleach really kind of took effect. Oh, when I squeeze this one out now, the black one, I can really see the color starting to come off. Because when I squeeze it, I can see kind of like orangey liquid almost coming off of it. And then if I pour a little more on, it'll really start to work here, hopefully. And the type of fabric you use also can have some effect on how well the bleach and the dye, well, the bleach dye in this case, will really take. If you use some synthetic fabrics, it might not take as much. And I think I do have a synthetic blend in one of the shirts that I have here. So just kind of keep that in mind too. All right, I'm done with my bleach mixture for now. Also just wanted to point out a couple other bleach products that could work. Especially if you're starting with a dry shirt sometimes. A lot of toilet bowl cleaners have bleach in them. This is actually just bleach gel. So you could write some cool designs on here. There's also bleach pens for really like spot cleaning or getting out specific stains. So those are really good to write with if you want to write words on your shirt. So those are fun to experiment with. There's also cleaners that have bleach in them. So if you're getting towards the end of your spray bottle, you could even just add a little more bleach and use this to spray your shirts. So I'm gonna put mine back in here just to kind of rinse, squeeze out the excess liquid a little bit. The fun thing about doing tie-dye too, like I said, you can really experiment with designs and methodology too. So you can try to start with a dry shirt and see if that takes the bleach quicker. If you do it with a more diluted solution, that's gonna take a little bit more of a subtle effect. So again, the longer you leave it in, the more color that will be removed. All right, just squeezing out this. And then I'm gonna start to remove it and see what it looks like. Now this black one I have, I can already see it starting to change color a little bit. So I'm going to start with that one to remove the rubber bands. Take them off carefully, just because there still might be bleach on here that could splatter. Let's see. Find all the rubber bands that I put on here. Now this one almost looks like an orangey brown. I can see the lines where these rubber bands were in the bubbled areas. So some of the circles are bigger, some are smaller. Got one more here. take off. And you can see a couple of the circles here, kind of a different, unique design. So kind of fun. And then I have some buckets of just plain water over here, so I'm gonna set that in there to start rinsing. And then my spiral one, I think this one started out gray. And I didn't leave it in there that long, but maybe it'll get a little subtle bleached effect. So yeah, you can see down at the bottom there, got the little spiral. And the shirt kind of looks a little more blue than gray now. And now, this one, start taking these rubber bands out. The more concentrated your bleach mixture is, the more it will penetrate the fabric. And like I said, I think these had a little synthetic mixture or like a cotton poly blend shirt. When you're using a cotton t-shirt, that, because it's mostly organic material, that will really affect how much the bleach kind of penetrates a little bit. But I see some stripes here. It's really subtle. And once it's dry, you'll be able to see it even more. You can kind of see it has like a little like stripey effect going down. I think that'll look really cool once it's washed. All right, so we got our rubber bands removed. Now rinse. I don't have a sink in this room here, so that's why I have my buckets. But if you have a wash tub or a hose nearby that you can use to rinse off your shirts, go ahead and do that. Again, still beware that splatter a little bit. I almost just got myself. Instead of a sink, I'm going to use a little pitcher and just rinse off. But the water might be tinted, especially if you're using a black shirt. So you want to rinse, if you can, until the water runs clear. Online on different tutorials, they do recommend using warm water. My water's not warm, but warm water can help set the dye or set the bleach a little bit, set the color in your clothing. All right, now I got my gray one here with a little spiral pattern. Oh, now I can really see some of that color coming off. Rinse your shirt. I'll do a more thorough job of rinsing later. So you can see that the water coming off of this black shirt is pretty orange. And that's what happens when you use a black shirt. The color that remains kind of looks orange. Mine is a little brown because I didn't keep it in the water super long. All right. So we are going to wash these as well. So if you aren't able to get all of the color out, that's okay. It'll really come out, of course, once you wash it. And that's the next step. So if you have some laundry detergent handy, or once you're done with this project, go use about a half a cup of laundry detergent, and you can either hand wash or wash it in your washing machine. But if you use your washing machine, make sure you're only washing these shirts. So that's kind of similar to if you were using regular dye and tie dyeing. You only want to wash them by themselves because you don't want to get any bleach onto any of your other clothing because that would ruin it, and that's no fun. This process of washing also helps set the color. So it helps set your final color. So if you're not quite sure if you're satisfied with this result, go ahead and maybe do it again, leave it in the bleach a little longer, and then don't wash until you're ready to go with it. But washing it is important because if you don't wash it, the bleach still has a possibility of transferring to other clothing. So make sure you do that. Like I said, because we're on video right now, I'm not going to do that right now, but go ahead and do that when we're done here. And then also dry it. So you can let it air dry. It's a nice day today, so you can let it dry outside. Or if you want to try it out right away, you can put it into the dryer, again, by themselves. But that will obviously make it dry a lot faster. And then make sure you clean up your work area really thoroughly. You don't want any of that bleach residue to get onto anything else or accidentally get onto your clothing. So make sure you do a good job cleaning up your workspace and toweling off anything that looks damp, because likely there's bleach in that dampness, in that water. So, like I said, finished results can kind of vary, but these are some examples of different designs that I've done before. It's a really fun and easy project to do with stuff you have around the house if you don't want to have to go to the store and buy supplies. A lot of people have bleach and things like that handy. Or you have products that have bleach in them that you didn't even know. So, I want to hear from you guys. How did your designs turn out? Did it turn out quite how you imagined? All right, so if you guys would do this again, what would you do differently?
Probably start with the t-shirt dry and pour the bleach on it.
Directly onto the fabric?
Yeah.
That'll definitely help it remove the color a little more drastically. But because bleach can be so strong, I started with a more diluted mixture today. But depending on your age and things like that, you could do the more concentrated version directly onto the shirt, for sure. What kind of design techniques do you think might be fun to try? I know for me, I was taping on the shirt, and I'm trying like a resist dye. So if I could take tapes or a design like flannel looking pattern and then put the bleach on with a spray bottle or directly, see how that would look. I think that might look kind of cool. Or the bleach pen. I've never tried that and I'm eager to. What do you guys think?
I think the bleach pen sounds cool.
Yeah, I've seen some cool designs on like Google where people have written just different words on them, or used it for like an event or something like that. All right, so that wraps it up for us today. Thank you guys for joining me. And we're towards the end of our virtual project day sessions, but they are still available online and will be available on YouTube following our session today. So you're welcome to check everything out there. And everyone who's participated throughout the week, either watching the videos or doing any of the other virtual sessions, is invited to join us for a show and tell on Saturday. All right, thank you very much. And that's all we have today.